The Canadian Red Cross, or the International Red Cross and Crescent Movement, by Kendra Taylor. Introduction. The Red Cross was born in a battlefield in 1859 in Solferino, Italy, by Swiss businessman Henry Dunant. Volunteers within the community offered medical assistance due to little or no staff to help the injured military. Today, the Red Cross is a non-profit organization with volunteers ready to help and prevent any unwanted situations, as well as support and respond to communities and people in need. The Red Cross is also known for their strength through volunteers and donors, their readiness to act if and when disaster strikes, the support they provide for communities, their ability to prevent injuries and abuse to ensure they save lives, and lastly, they're ready to respond to a world crisis. Red Cross founders and leadership. As mentioned in the introductory slide, Henry Dunant was the founder of the Red Cross in 1859 when he began helping those injured or in need of food on the battlefield. This then grew to become one of the largest non-profit organizations in the world. Clara Barton was the lady to bring the Red Cross to the United States, however, by involving herself through the Civil War in 1861. She continued with her contribution on a much larger scale when she received permission from President Abraham Lincoln to operate the Missing Soldiers Office to help locate missing troops for their families and friends. Many more founders of the individual Red Cross buildings and organizations around the world, which include Gustave Mounier, Louis Appy, Theodore Monod, and the list continues. The executive leadership team today consists of 9 members: Conrad Sove, Larry Mills, Amy Avis, Ann Clancy, Nathan Hukulak, Janet Johnson, Kelsey Lemon, Stefan McLeod, and Jean-Philippe Tizy. Their mission and their vision. To begin with their mission, the Canadian Red Cross Movement mission is to help people and communities in Canada and around the world in a time of need, as well as strengthen their resilience. For their vision, for individuals to voluntarily demonstrate their caring for others in need, the Canadian Red Cross is currently the leading humanitarian organization to successfully accomplish this vision across all platforms in the world. Their principles. The 7 fundamental principles were adopted by the 20th International Conference in 1965 to link the International Committee, Federation, and National Societies. These 7 include humanity, to protect life and health as well as ensure respect for all human beings; impartiality, no discrimination against any nationality, race, religious belief, class, or political opinions; neutrality, the movement does not take sides or engage in any controversies of a political, racial, religious, or ideological nature; independence, they are independent so that they are able to abide by the principles of the movement; voluntary service, they're a non-profit movement with no intent of getting anything in return for their services; unity, only one Red Cross in any one country, open to all, and carries out humanitarian work throughout their territories; and universality. Every Red Cross movement has equal status, responsibility, and duties worldwide. Strategies. While focusing on making an impact in the world, the strategies used to accomplish this are: encourage change, improve support and care methods, reduce any possible risk to human safety, and empower others. Projects and results. BC floods 2021, Haitian earthquakes, and humanitarian aid after the Taliban in Afghanistan. The results from these 3 were: for BC floods, they raised $12 million for the flood victims. They were able to get families evacuated from homes and into safety, and they helped the injured after the floods had passed. For the Haitian earthquakes, active participants in emergency relief and recovery efforts, they distributed 14,400 tons of supplies to the nations and supported over 5 million Haitians in need after the earthquakes. And then for Afghanistan, they provided decades of humanitarian aid to this day, such as clean drinking water and medical aid. Projects and their results continued. For this slide, I have vaccinations in First Nation territories and humanitarian efforts in Africa. For the vaccinations in First Nation territories, for example, Iqaluit Nunavut, the results were that they had been able to provide health care aid and COVID-19 vaccines for the First Nations in Nunavut that were unable to get it elsewhere. For humanitarian efforts in Africa, they are helping communities become strong and resilient to this day. Global impact. The International Red Cross and Red Crescent movement is a global humanitarian network with 80 million volunteers worldwide helping within the 192 societies to help people facing disaster, conflict, and health and social problems. Financials. Using the most recent financials I could find, the total revenue for the 2019 year was $391 million, and the total operating expenses for that year was $376.9 million. Using simple math, that means that the total profit for that year was $14.1 million for Red Cross. In comparison, the 2018 data states that the total revenue was $465.6 million, and the total expenses were $457.9 million. Again, using simple math, therefore, that means the total profit was $7.7 million. Employment opportunities. There is volunteer as well as employed/paid work within the Canadian and International Red Cross Associations. In Canada, employment opportunities include advanced technician, communications advisor, case management advisor, mental health and psychosocial supporter, occupational health and safety, and many other titles. Internationally, employment opportunities include administrative, analytic, capacity building, and organizational development job categories, with a variety of more specialized jobs within each category similar to the Canadian opportunities. Conclusion. To conclude, all Red Cross and Red Crescent activities have one central purpose: to help those who suffer without discrimination, whether during conflict, in response to natural or man-made disasters, or due to conditions of chronic poverty.